Hey, good morning, guys. It's Sabrina. And today I want to talk about something I think is pretty important. A couple weeks ago, I did a video on taking ownership of your depression, accepting responsibility. I got tons of really good feedback about how it's even encouraged people in different ways. I had a few friends that are dealing with some weight issues, and they had made comments about how it really spoke to them about having to take ownership of where they're at with that and doing what they need to do. Had some people talk to me about schooling and different stuff that they need to start, and they've just been putting it off and making excuses, and they've realized that if they want to get where they're going, they've got to accept responsibility for that. They have to take ownership and start that journey. So I'm very thrilled about that, because that's exactly what I was hoping would happen. I know that my focus is depression, but really it can be applied to a lot of different things in life, and so hopefully that continues. As I'd mentioned in the last video, though, today what I want to talk about is something extremely important. I'm going to do two separate videos. This first one is basically going to be dealing with speaking into someone's life that has depression. The video I'm going to do next is what not to say to someone who's depressed, and it's going to also have some points in there about what to say or what to do to help somebody. But I realize that more than anything, it's not even about exactly what you say to someone. It's the motivation with which you say it. And so I think I want to touch on that really quickly, because it's very important regarding depression, anything that you're dealing with someone in life that you're having to love on and help through something. A few very key factors. And the first thing is this: check your bias. What does that mean? That means, what are your thoughts on depression? What do you think about it? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's just something that people make up to make excuses for wanting to lay around and be lazy or be sad? What are your feelings about it? Do you feel frustrated when you're dealing with someone with depression? Or do you feel supportive and kind and compassionate? When you think about depression, are you concerned for people? So check those biases. As a nurse, when I have people that I'm taking care of, even if I don't agree with their lifestyle, for example, I had a drug addict. I had a patient that was shooting up and got an infection in the arm, ended up having really bad cellulitis, had to come in, have some surgeries done, was there on IV antibiotics for a while, and I had to take care of this individual knowing that his intent was to get back out and continue the same lifestyle that he had. I couldn't not treat him with respect and love just because I didn't agree with what he was doing. I had to check my bias at the door. And I think this is crucial for anything in life. You need to check your biases. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, what is your relationship with this person? Is it a loved one? Is it a family member? Is it a friend? Is it a coworker? Just because you have a relationship with them, it doesn't mean you also have the right. And so look at your relationship. With this relationship, does that give you an automatic in with their life? For instance, a spouse, a child. If it's one of those situations where it's somebody that you have permission just by being married to them or having given birth to them, then yeah, you do have a right to speak into their life to a point. But just because you have a relationship doesn't automatically give you that right. So check about your relationship, and that goes into that next point of, do you have the right to speak into their life? Just because you have a relationship doesn't give you permission. It doesn't give you authority. When you have grown children, just because they're your children, they're adults now. And we've spoken to this point with our children, our adult children, that we want to be able to speak into their lives, but we won't automatically do that, because there's no point in speaking into it if it's going to damage a relationship and they're not going to be receptive. And so we want to make sure we have permission to speak into their lives before we do that. Of course, if it's something where they're, going out shooting at somebody, that's a different story. But if it's something that, we want to try to help them in lovingly, we need to have permission to do that. And so, do you have the right to speak into their life? I had somebody say something to me one time, and I'm just going to be very honest about it. It was somebody that I respected very much, someone that had a lot of maturity and wisdom. And this person said something to me when I was going through a major foot surgery, multiple surgeries, infection, couldn't figure out what was going on, I was just feeling defeated and deflated and overwhelmed and hopeless and frustrated and angry and sad and all of these emotions on top of having depression, which that person didn't know about then. But this person came to me and basically said, well, as soon as you learn what God's trying to teach you, He'll move you on from this. I can't tell you the amount of pain that caused me and how that has affected me all these years later. I took that as I was being punished because I wasn't learning what God was trying to teach me. I wasn't wise. I wasn't seeking. I wasn't receptive. Everything that I've gone through in life since then, I blame myself. I start looking at it like, well, Sabrina, if you would just learn what God's trying to teach you, okay, God, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? And it causes me to be so hypercritical of myself and what I'm going through and what I'm dealing with that it's like I can't focus on the good things because all I think about is how I'm screwing up and what I've done wrong to get here. So just because that person had a relationship with me did not give them the right. And even if they had the right, the next thing is crucial as well. What was their motivation in doing that? Were they doing it because they loved me and they were trying to help me, or were they doing it to correct me? I don't know. And I can't judge that because I don't know. But check yourself. Why are you wanting to speak into somebody's life? Is it because you want to correct them? Is it because you love them and you're trying to help them? Just because you have a relationship and you have the right doesn't mean your motivation is correct and that you should. There are plenty of times that I see my child doing something that I want to step in and correct them. I have the relationship, I have the right, but what's it for? Why am I trying to correct them? Is it because it's necessary, or is it because I don't like the way they're doing it? And that's what I have to check myself for. I can really crush somebody's spirit by doing that and cause them a lot more pain and suffering if my motivation is not to do it in love. So if my motivation is to do it in love, then the next thing is this. I'm going to do it in the way that really will give them the best and most effective way of help and support. When you help somebody, you help them in the way they need help, not the way you want to help. I try to teach my children that if you're offering me help, then you're going to do what I need help with and not what you want to do, because that's not really helping somebody. That's helping yourself. And when someone's struggling with depression, you can really hurt them. I had said last time you can cause them to really go down that slippery slope very quickly, and they can spiral down very deep. So you have to be careful with what you say, and you're going to need to help them in the way that they need to get the help. What's the best way to help them? So those are the things I wanted to touch on today. First is, number one, check your bias. What are your thoughts about depression? Are they positive or negative? You need to know those things before you talk to somebody. What are your feelings on depression? Are they positive? Are they negative? Are they iffy? You need to know those things. The second thing is, what's your relationship to the person? Do you have a relationship with them that warrants you being able to speak into their life? If you have a good relationship with them, do you have the right to speak into their life? Do you have the relationship that gives you that permission automatically, or do you have a relationship where they have given you permission to speak into their life? The next part is, what is your motivation? Is your motivation to help them? Is it to love them? Or is it to correct them because you feel the need to? If that's the motive, just stop where you're at and do this. Just shut your mouth, because it's not going to help, it's going to hurt. And you don't want to do that. And the last thing is, if your motivation is correct, you have the right, you've got the relationship, and you've checked your biases, then how are you going to help them? You need to offer to help them in the way that they need help, not the way that you believe help should be given. So you need to check those things as well. So those are my points today. Super important, especially if you're dealing with someone with depression or if you're dealing with yourself. You need to check your own biases about depression. You need to check yourself and the way that you're speaking to yourself. Are you helping yourself, or are you making it worse? So that's the thoughts first. If all these things are right, if you are wanting to help someone because you love them, you've done all these other things, then check out the next video. And the next video is going to be what not to say to someone who's struggling with depression. And I'm going to give a few pointers on what to say and what to do. Okay? So take care. Bye.